Welcome back. I'm Kevin O'Keefe. At issue today, 14-year-old Bilaal Rajan is a young man on a mission. He wants to improve the lives of people around the world, especially children. But he knows he can't do it alone. Often he speaks to schools and at youth rallies to motivate others to help. Check it out.
A few years ago, in the span of a little over 2 months, he managed to raise $1 million for tsunami relief. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to the UN Youth Ambassador, the UNICEF Youth Ambassador for Canada, Bilaal Rajan. Give it up for Bilaal.
How are we doing today? Oh, come on, we can do better than that. How are we doing today? It's an honor to speak to each and every one of you today, and just talk to you about the challenges that the world faces today. But before I start, I always ask this one question, but I think there's too many people here to answer. But the question was, what does it take to make change in the world today? And I always get answers like bravery, like courage, like passion, and I'm sure we all agree, but we always miss one thing. And that one thing is action. We make change by taking action now. Not next year, not next month, not next week, not even tomorrow. We make change now. So I want to hear you say it. When do we make change? There are thousands of people in this room. We can do better than that. When do we make change?
And joining me in the studio is Bilaal Rajan, and Skyping me from Kingston is Sky Valance, someone who's been motivated by Bilaal's message of making change now. Welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you.
Sky, I want to start with you. How did you come to meet Bilaal?
It was actually a couple years ago. We went on a volunteer trip with Free the Children to Ecuador, and it was with 25 students from across Canada, Bilaal being one of them. He was actually the youngest in the group. And so we were immediately interested in what got him to be in the group.
And what did he tell you?
Well, he started with his story of how young Bilaal was selling clementines around the neighborhood to raise money for, I believe it was hurricane relief. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Bilaal.
Earthquake in India, but it's no big deal.
There's been a lot on his list. I'm sure he did some stuff as well for floods. But anyway, go ahead. What impression did he leave with you?
Kind of the same that Craig Heelberger did, actually, being the founder of Free the Children, is youth empowerment in general. If somebody so young could take that one tiny initiative of selling clementines and grow into this amazing initiative that's really nationwide now, it's completely powerful and inspiring that anybody could do the same thing.
Do you remember that conversation meeting Sky?
I do, definitely. And no, we've definitely done our best to keep a close friendship ever since. And so Sky's done some amazing things just in general for her community and around the world. And I think it's amazing the work that she's done as well.
Do you realize the impression that obviously that's one of your goals is to motivate other young people, but when you have casual conversations like that with people, do you realize that you can actually empower them to do something? I mean, is that in your mind?
Well, truthfully, it's people like Sky that let me have faith that the world will and can be a better place because of the work that people like Sky and Sky herself is doing. It just gives me comfort in knowing that that youth and people are taking action to make a difference.
And I guess, do you feel that takes a bit of the weight off your shoulders at all, that she's willing to help with?
I don't know if it's about taking the weight off my shoulders, but more in the sense that it's great to know that I guess others are being involved, others are getting involved,
right? And
that really is the goal, to make sure that you know that as one person you can make a difference, but as a group of people you can change the world.
Sky, how did what Bilaal said to you in Ecuador affect you when you came back to Canada?
Bilaal's words were so inspiring to me, not only because he is a young person, but also because he's younger than me. I feel not that necessarily age is a complete necessity to what you do, but if he can do it, why can't I do it? Why haven't I done things to help out? And he's just had some really creative initiatives, I found, like the Barefoot Challenge. I've found such a learning experience in that, and it's a good one to catch on to people that doesn't necessarily have to take participating to understand. It just is really thought-provoking.
We're going to talk about that in the next segment, but go ahead.
All right. Yeah, it's just really good getting awareness for different varieties of cause, I guess you could say.
So what sort of things you did? The Barefoot Challenge. What other stuff have you done since you've been back?
On the Ecuador trip, something that stuck with me was when we went to the rose factories, because that's one of the biggest exports in Ecuador. And when we saw it, you just see this whole new industry that you'd never think this pretty flower has behind it. I mean, the way that the workers are treated and the health and regulations there, it really was shocking. I know there's a group on Facebook now called Green Label where there's lots of articles and photos that you can see that we did take inside the factories, which aren't always publicized about. So Green Label really enforces that these factories abide by not only child labor, but regular labor and safety laws so that you know it's coming from a good place, I guess you could say. And though it is more expensive to buy Green Label or organic, you know that you're supporting people equitably.
I understand you were involved in a project on Valentine's Day. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, actually with one of the boys who I took on the trip with me, we decided to continue this cause and bring it to Canterbury High School. At Valentine's Day, we bought a whole load of organic and Green Label long stem roses. We sold them for a few dollars each. It's not much more expensive than a regular one. And we had videos set up informing people about the actual cause. And we'd go around selling them so people would have a nice, happy, sustainable Valentine's Day.
And why is it important for people to, I guess organic food is something that is readily available and people are more accepting of, I guess, and it's more about making us healthy, versus organic flowers, I guess, is more about helping other people. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, well, that's the issue. It's just such a topic that isn't really well known as organic eating. But it really is the pesticides that you can see the effects of. I mean, there's women in the factories who are getting kind of brain damage, I guess, and it affects the birth of their next children. So it's not only affecting the current generation that works in the factories, but ones to come, which will eventually hit a wider variety in Ecuador.
How does that affect you, hearing that this legacy, I guess, of what you started or what you're working on is continuing?
No, I think it's great just to be able to see that the work that I'm doing is actually making a difference. And I think that is always rewarding in the sense that knowing that what you're doing is making a difference in the world. And a lot of the times when people give, say, to example, to charities, just various donations, they don't actually physically get to see the work or what their money is doing. And I think that's just the honor that I continuously get to have traveling to different countries or having people like Sky just being able to really make a difference and being able to see that the work that you do is actually paying off.
Anything you'd like to say to her? Any advice you'd like to give her?
Not advice.
I'm welcome to it.
Any words of wisdom, Bilaal?
I'd love to thank Sky. I'd love to thank Sky so much for the work that you do, and just thank you so much for everything, for the inspiration that you provide to me, and just continuously being there as a friend, and just everything. And love sharing the experience with you in Ecuador, and thanks so much for just helping me with my work and that continuous support.
Anytime at all.
Well, thank you very much, Sky, for Skyping with us today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. When we return, what UNICEF Canada thinks about Bilaal's contribution. Stick around.